When it comes to the snatch and clean and jerk, there are approximately infinity details you can consider. As a new lifter or even a new coach, it's overwhelming and intimidating, and it's easy to make the mistake of getting ahead of yourself with the newest fun detail you've picked up from your favorite social media account or website. So let's regroup. When I wrote the first edition of my book in 2008, I threw in a line almost in passing. We need to understand now and throughout the learning process that there is a simple order of priorities: position, movement, speed, load. Let's look at what all this means in a practical sense when it comes to movement. Position is the first priority because it's the foundation of everything else you do. It's the most basic element of any motor skill. You cannot perform a correct movement from or to an incorrect position because it would be, by definition, a different movement. I consider balance to be an element of position. If your position is correct, your balance can't be incorrect, but you can be balanced while being in an incorrect position. When learning or training a movement, don't be in a hurry. Take the time to establish your starting and ending positions well. Hold that starting position a few seconds before you move. Hold that receiving position a few seconds before you stand up or drop the bar. This tiny bit of time is a small investment that will pay enormous dividends. It will give you a chance to make adjustments and to really familiarize yourself with what the correct position feels like, and that eventually means the ability to quickly recognize and correct an improper position without thinking about it consciously. Movement requires correct positions. Think of it as simply stringing together an enormous series of incrementally different positions. When learning and practicing a new movement, perform it relatively slowly initially when possible. Like holding a position, this allows you to actually feel what's happening. You can feel where the tension in your body is, what the bar is trying to do that you have to prevent, how your body is negatively affected if you don't move properly, and make adjustments along the way. Many of these things are impossible to notice if moving at full speed with a very light load such as an empty bar or PVC pipe. This is partly why my snatch, clean, and jerk teaching progressions use so many abbreviated movements along the way to create the complete lift. These allow focused, controlled learning of a specific portion of the lift at relatively low speeds when possible. Not all motions or segments of a motion can be performed slowly. However, you can build the base with slowed motions. The Olympic lifts need to ultimately be performed at high speed. However, maximal speed is pointless if the motion being performed quickly is incorrect. It's like throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball straight into the stands. No one cares how fast your missed snatch was. Speed often masks technical mistakes right up until the weight is too heavy to get away with them. Introduce speed once a decent level of proficiency in a movement is achieved. And no, I don't mean you have to do everything slowly for 6 months. This should be within a single training session or even a set. That said, continue returning to reduced speed lifts, segments, or drills as needed to improve your fast lifts. For example, perform these slower movements as part of your warm-up for a training lift until you've reached proficiency in that lift. Adding weight to any movement is always the last step. Loading develops strength, and strength is very position and motion specific. Strengthening poor positions and movements is the best way to make progress as difficult as possible. In that case, not only do you have to learn a new skilled motion, you have to overcome competing motor patterns. Then, even if you can perform a given motion well with light weight, as weight increases, you're going to revert back to the poor patterns because they're what your strength is able to support. Be smart about your strength work. Often people are so terrified of not getting stronger or losing their strength from another sport that they refuse to temporarily reduce weights when needed to move correctly. This just reinforces the problem and takes them even farther away from success. It's akin to continuing to walk down the wrong trail for miles because you're scared of losing progress. Except that progress isn't even towards your goal and you're going to have to turn around eventually. The sooner you do and get back onto the right trail, the sooner you're going to reach your goal. Keep the process as simple as possible. Build a solid foundation before you start overwhelming yourself with details. And don't be afraid of backing up when you need to. It'll save you time and effort in the long run.